The Guardians have taken control of nowhere, and after an attack from an unknown enemy, they unite on a quest to save one of their own. Meanwhile, the High Evolutionary, a being intent on perfecting society, is determined to get his hands on Rocket Raccoon. The third and potentially final Guardians of the Galaxy movie is another fun outing filled with great action and humour, fantastic visuals and plenty of emotion too. What sets this entry apart from the prior ones are the darker, tough to watch moments. This is a movie with heavy themes and strong messaging, perhaps oppressively so, especially for what is essentially a family-friendly comic book superhero movie. The movie is at times uncomfortable and not an overly nice experience because of its focus on Rocket's origins and the darker, twisted nature of them and the main antagonist. This can result in a sometimes uneven flow from light and funny to dark and serious, with the movie trying to tackle the extremes on either side of that scale. The primary cause of this is the depiction of animals, animal cruelty and animal testing and experimentation. While the movie features CGI animals instead of real life animals, the special effects and sounds are incredibly well done to the point of creating a near seamless illusion. Younger viewers and those less capable of viewing or hearing such cruel things may struggle to watch this movie. Meanwhile, the villain of the movie is one of the most villainous and purely hateful villains in the MCU thus far. The High Evolutionary is a cruel, intimidating individual, one who always showcases his perceived superiority as isn't afraid to punish his subordinates or shout and scream to get his way. He is brilliantly portrayed by Chukwudi Iwuji, who manages to make him imposing and oppressive, but the script and focus on making him such a hateful individual prevents him from displaying any element of sympathy or saying or doing much else other than things that would make him an obvious villain. The heroes of the movie are great once again. Headed by Chris Pratt, the Guardians, now also consisting of Cosmo and Kraglin, prove yet again that they are amongst the best on-screen superhero teams around. Each of the characters gets their moments, both in terms of action as well as in terms of comedy and drama. As the final outing for many of these characters, it's good to see that they each get some form of closure, some sense of their next chapter, as well as plenty to do before those points. It is a touch disappointing that the newer members like Cosmo and Kraglin don't always have a lot to say or do and are reduced for the most part to small roles at the beginning and end of the movie. One of the core elements of the movie is the relationship between Quill and Gamora, which has been abruptly and awkwardly cut short due to the events of Infinity War. Much of Quill's story this time around is about him trying to reconcile a relationship with Gamora, desperately so, as well as coming to terms with what really matters. This in turn is something many of the cast must deal with as they realise there must be more to life than being Guardians, and it's one of the major themes that Gunn does a great job at exploring in this final outing. While the darker themes and moments often take centre stage, the movie still features plenty of action, comedy and emotion too. The action scenes are fantastic, with a hallway scene towards the back end of the movie that highlights the Guardians working as a team being the standout. While the movie is funny, there are fewer one-liners and fewer genuinely hilarious moments, but that is a result of the darker moments and the necessity to tone things down to maintain a somewhat consistent tone throughout. As for the emotional elements, these are strong and powerful, with many moments in the movie inciting tears of both happiness and sadness throughout its long runtime. Sadly, the movie is a touch too long. Guardians 3 is about 2.5 hours long, with plenty of sequences that could have been trimmed or cut, particularly extended sequences on Counter-Earth and one on the Orgosphere, which, while fun, end up feeling like slightly long divergences from the primary quest. Guardians of the Galaxy Vol.3 is an emotional, fun, thrilling, action-packed movie that provides something for almost every viewer. It manages to give many of the main characters some form of send-off, but not necessarily closure, and it features a genuinely great bad guy that makes you really root for the heroes. The movie sometimes struggles with tone thanks to a focus on some darker, more twisted elements that often make the movie tough to watch, but as a final outing for these characters and for Gunn as writer and director, it's everything you could possibly want it to be, and the way it elicits emotion wins out.